Good morning, first grade. We're going to start off for Team Unstoppables. Team, can you turn your math books to page 301? For today's math lesson, we'll basically learn how to identify the value of tally marks and identify what one half of a number actually is. Now, let's begin with number one. Now, number one wants us to basically ask us how many tally marks. Now, we may remember tally marks at the time. We may have games at school. We might have math games or history games for different teams. And your score, I usually would do your score through tally marks. This is basically the same method. Okay, we're just trying to figure out how many it is. Now, as we know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5. 6, 7. That is 7. Now, let's go over this one. How many is the second one? As we know, this is 5, and this is another one. That's 10. So that is 10. So when you're looking at number one, that's how you solve those problems. Let's move on to number two. Now, number two wants us to draw these numbers in tally marks. And let's look at very similar to what we just worked on. Let's look at 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4. Slash right there. That's 5. And this one was 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's how you solve the problem for number two. Now let's move on to number three. Number three wants us to set the clock. Notice they give us a time. So let's set that particular clock. So the time is they want to give us is 7:35. So we draw the hour hand to 7. Now what is the minute hand going on? I'm going to have you decide, but we want to count together to refresh our memory how to figure out the minute hand. So notice, start at 1, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. So whatever the minute hand lands on, you will draw that minute hand as well. Look for 7:35. And when you look at number 4 wants you to add or subtract. You're simply writing the answers. Let's look more at number 5. How many cents? So here we have 3/4. You know, a quarter is worth 25 cents. We have a nickel worth 5 cents. We have 2 nickels. We have a dime is worth 10 cents. And then they give us a penny. As we know, pennies worth 1 cent. So let's begin with our quarters. You know, 3 quarters together are what? Let's count. 25, 50, 75. 75 plus 5 is what? What is 75 plus 5? That is 80. Next, 80 plus 10 is, what is 80 plus 10? We're down here now to this row. 90. Okay, we almost finished. 90 plus 5. What is 90 plus 5? 95. And then 95 plus 1 is 96. So for number 5, that is 96 cents total. Now, we're trying to figure out 1/2 of 16. 1/2 for 16. Is it 6, 8, or 10? We have to bubble in that answer for the next problem, which is number 6. So, what do you think half? Half of 16. For example, if you have $16, you put half, you spend half, now half goes to the side. You try to save half. How much you putting away? Trying to save half. What is half of 16? Is it 10? Well, the 10 may be too big. We're talking about 8. That's correct. Half of 16, that is 8. Half of 16 is 8. Let's work on one more. Let's try to figure out what's half of 12. So here we have half of 12. Is it 4, 5, or 6? What is the answer to half of 12? Now, we did this before. We were working with number 12. For something very similar before. Will it be 4? No, it wouldn't be 4. What about 5? No, 5 is still not right. Yes, that is 6. Half of 12 is 6. 1/2 of 12 is 6. So for the next one, 1/2 of 18. Half of 18. Is it 9, 10, 11? Take your time trying to figure out what is half of 18. Now let's flip the page over. Looking at page 302. So number 1 wants us to draw the tally marks to show the combinations, then write the sums. So we're going here, we're going to draw the tally marks. The first one is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here we have 8. Let me fix my 8 here. I'm going to fix my 8. Hold on one second. Okay, so first one is 5, then here we have 8. Right there. So now, you're trying to figure out what is 5 plus 8. Now we should know, if we don't for help, you use your tally marks to help add. 5 plus 8 is what, class? What do you think 5 plus 8 is? 13. That is correct. 5 plus 8 is 13. So for number 1, you're going to write the tally marks first. Then you'll be able to add the sums. Then we move on to number 2. You're simply writing the sums. Take your time. And as we know, we'll always start in the ones place. You all have been doing an excellent job when dealing with these sort of problems. Let's move on. Let's move on to number 3. Number 3 wants us to write greater than or less than. Here we have a conversions. So let's do a few of those. Alright, first thing we have is 1 inch and 1 foot. Oh, we have to write greater than, put this in the side. So we know we have to be able to tell, is 1 inch, is that greater than or less than 1 foot? And if you don't know, how many inches is 1 foot? 12. There are 12 inches in 1 foot. So is 1, is that greater than 12 or less than 12? What do you think? That's correct. 1 is less than 12. Let's move to the next one. Here we have 1 pint and 1 quart. So we're trying to decide, is 1 pint, is that greater than 1 quart or less than? What do you think? It is less than. 1 pint is definitely less than 1 quart. Let's work on one more together. Here we have half a dozen and 1 dozen. Is half dozen greater than or less than 1 dozen? So half a dozen, if you don't know, that is 6. And a dozen is 12. Put these in parentheses so you're able to see. Okay? 1 dozen is 12. Half a dozen is 6. So is 6, is that greater than? Is half a dozen, is that greater than or less than 1 dozen? What do you think? That is less than, okay? That is less than. So that's how you solve that particular problem. So take your time when you're trying to decide what number is greater than or less than for number 3.